Hey everyone, welcome back to Dark Souls. This is Fahad Syed from Pixel Icons, and on today's episode, which is going to be our final episode, we're going to take on Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight, or as he is known in this boss fight, Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. This is going to be the final boss of the game, and I'm not going to talk during it, to try to make it feel more dramatic. So without further ado, let's get started. So that was Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder, the final boss of Dark Souls. Now that the fight is over, I want to comment a bit about the boss arena and the fight. So Gwyn is extremely unrelenting. He's got multiple attacks which can really screw you up. And what you're not seeing here is all of the attempts that I made off screen to sort of practice Gwyn. Now I want to play some of those while I'm walking through this, just so you can see a bit more of the fight. Gwyn is the first and foremost Lord who has a Lord Soul. We see him claiming his Lord Soul in the introduction cutscene, and he is responsible for the Age of the Gods. It is due to his power of sunlight that he was able to use his sunlight bolts and lightning spears to peel apart the dragon's stony scales. Gwyn has multiple fast attacks with his sword. He's got a two-handed one, which is slower, with 3 swings, 2 horizontal and then 1 thrust, and then 3 fast swings that are one-handed. These attack sets, both of these, are pretty similar, but one is a lot slower than the other, which can screw up your parrying. I think the developers knew that Gwyn was going to be tough for someone who was just plainly rolling through the fight, so they made it so that you could parry him. Now, obviously you can't backstab Gwyn, that would be a bit too unfair and easy, but by parrying him and then attacking him while he's down on the ground, you can do a good amount of damage to him and take him out fairly quickly like I just did. Gwyn also has a grab attack, in which he grabs you, picks you up, and explodes you and throws you onto the ground. Gwyn is he's a pretty emotional fight because he's been talked up to be this great lord throughout the entire game, and we've just kind of been sitting there listening to NPCs wax poetic about him and his power, and when we finally find him, he's basically been destroyed. He's a husk of his former self. Throughout the boss arena, we see this large, what looks like a kiln with these windows carved out of it. This is clearly where the fire was meant to be stoked. And we can see these 3 forks here, these 3 sort of tongues that come out of the ground. They fork up into the center to hold the flame. The whole place is covered in ash, and it makes you wonder how many people here were sacrificed to keep the first flame going. Gwyn eventually sacrificed himself to keep the first flame going and the Age of Gods perpetuating, and that's why we end up fighting him in his hollowed form. He's no longer the Lord of Sunlight, he is the Lord of Cinder. With all of that, we have quite a lot of souls to spend, and before we spend them, and before we end the game, really, I want to go ahead and read Gwyn's soul. Soul of Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight and Cinder, who linked the first flame. Lord Gwyn bequeathed most of his power to the gods, and burned as cinder for the first flame. But even so, Lord Gwyn's soul is a powerful thing indeed. Could you imagine how the fight with Lord Gwyn would have gone if he had all of his power. If he didn't divide his soul up and give it to Seath, and if he didn't divide it up and give it to the 4 kings of Anor Londo and all the other gods. If we had fought Gwyn at his highest, we might not have succeeded. It might have been a failure. Even so, we managed to defeat Lord Gwyn in his weakened state, and now we have a choice. We can usher in a new age by leaving the bonfire, or we can perpetuate the cycle and the era and age of gods by lighting the first flame. I think canonically there is no real choice here. If you guys want to see the Dark Lord ending, you could probably find it on YouTube uploaded somewhere. But me personally, I'm going to light the first flame. Link the fire. And before I do this, I just want to thank you all so much for watching. It has been such a great pleasure going through this game and showing off the aspects of the design that I love the most and reliving it. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Fahad Syed from Pixel Icons, and I'm about to link the fire.